The Grand Council Chamber floated in the darkness between stars, a massive structure of crystal and light that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Inside, Ambassador Marcus Webb stood on a circular platform that hovered above an empty void. Around him, rising in rings that stretched higher than skyscrapers, sat the representatives of 847 alien species. Some looked like insects made of glass. Others appeared as clouds of gas, held together by force fields. A few resembled nothing Marcus could compare to anything on Earth. This was the moment humanity had prepared for. 3 years ago, Earth had detected the first alien signal. 3 years of learning alien languages, understanding galactic politics, and trying to fit into a civilization that had existed for 40,000 years. 3 years of being watched, judged, and found wanting. The chamber fell silent. High Chancellor Varaxis rose from the central dais. His body was liquid mercury contained inside a transparent shell, flowing and reforming with each movement. When he spoke, translation devices turned his words into something Marcus could understand. Humanity of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council to answer for your existence. Marcus kept his face neutral, but his heart pounded. This was not a greeting. This was a trial. For 3 cycles, we have observed your species, Varaxis continued. We have studied your world, your history, your nature. What we have found disturbs us greatly. Holographic displays appeared around the chamber. Images of Earth filled the air. But these were not the peaceful scenes humanity had hoped to share. Instead, the holograms showed human soldiers in training, warships conducting exercises, weapons being tested, children learning martial arts, people climbing mountains, diving into oceans, jumping from aircraft for sport. Your planet is classified as a Class 12 death world, said Counselor Vex, a 4-armed creature covered in blue scales. The gravity is crushing. The weather patterns are violent. The native predators include creatures that hunt in packs and others that kill with venom. Your oceans contain enough salt to poison most species. Yet you call this paradise. Call it home, Marcus replied calmly. You call it home because you are products of it, Vex hissed. You are apex predators wearing the skin of civilized beings. Your entire evolution was a competition to see which species could kill most efficiently. You won that competition. And now, you bring that violence to the stars? Or images appeared. Human history played out in brutal detail. Wars, weapons, conflicts that had raged for centuries. The Council watched in silence as humanity's darkest moments were displayed for all to see. Every species has conflict in its past, Marcus said. We are not unique in that. But you are unique in scale, Varaxis responded. Most species experience perhaps a dozen major conflicts in their pre-spaceflight history. Humanity has experienced hundreds. You have killed billions of your own kind. You have created weapons capable of destroying your entire world. And even now, in what you call peacetime, you maintain military forces larger than some council members have ever possessed. A tall, crystalline being spoke up. We have also observed your recreational activities. You pursue danger as entertainment. You climb mountains that could kill you. You dive into waters that could drown you. You jump from heights that should terrify you. This is not normal behavior. This is the behavior of a species that has no instinct for self-preservation. We call it courage. Marcus said quietly. Call it insanity, the crystal being replied. Chancellor Varaxis raised one liquid appendage. The chamber fell silent again. The Council has reviewed all evidence. We have consulted with our xenopsychologists, our military analysts, our historians. The conclusion is unanimous. Humanity represents a Category 5 hazard to galactic civilization. Marcus felt cold spread through his chest. Category 5. He knew what that meant. In galactic law, Category 5 species were either destroyed or permanently quarantined. You have honored your treaties, Varaxis acknowledged. You have not fired weapons in aggression since joining the galactic community. You have even participated in humanitarian missions, saving lives across 6 star systems during the Outer Rim Plague. For this, we recognize your efforts to control your nature. But nature cannot be denied forever. Dex added. You are predators. Eventually you will turn on us. It is inevitable. Better to contain the threat now, before it grows beyond our ability to manage. Marcus looked around the chamber. 847 species. Civilizations that had existed for millennia. All united in their fear of humanity. All convinced that Earth's children were monsters waiting to strike. The council votes now, Vraxes announced. All in favor of placing humanity under enforced quarantine, confining them to their solar system, and dismantling their military capabilities under galactic supervision. Lights appeared around the chamber. Green lights, hundreds of them, indicating agreement. Marcus watched as the vote tally climbed. 800 votes in favor, then 820. 840. Only 7 species voted against the measure. 7 out of 847 believed humanity deserved a chance. The measure passes, Vraxes declared. Humanity will be restricted to every screen in the chamber suddenly went dark. The voting system froze. Emergency alarms began to wail, sound that Marcus was told had not been heard in this chamber for 4,000 years. A new hologram appeared. It showed a military officer from a species Marcus did not recognize. The officer's carapace was cracked and leaking fluid. Behind him, fires burned. This is Commander Jorth of the Sentinel Network. Emergency alert to all council members. The Vraken horde has breached the outer barrier. Repeat, the Vraken have returned. They have already consumed the Kelton system. Estimated arrival at core worlds. 6 standard cycles. All military forces must mobilize immediately. The chamber erupted into chaos. Species that Marcus had never heard make a sound began screaming. Others simply fled toward the exits. The calm, orderly council chamber transformed into a scene of absolute panic in seconds. Marcus activated his communication link to Earth. Mr. President, are you seeing this? President Alina Vasquez's voice came through clearly, despite the chaos around him. Our analysts are pulling up everything we have on the Vraken. Marcus, this is bad. Really bad. How bad? They nearly destroyed the galaxy 50,000 years ago. It took the combined might of dozens of species to drive them away. Most of those species are extinct now. The ones that survived forgot how to fight. Marcus understood immediately. The council had just voted to cage humanity because they were too dangerous. Now a real threat had appeared. These peaceful civilizations had no idea how to respond. Chancellor Vraxis was attempting to restore order, but his voice was lost in the panic. Councillor Thex had already left the chamber. Others were arguing, shouting, demanding impossible solutions. Marcus stepped forward on his platform and spoke in a voice that cut through the noise. Chancellor Vraxis, the liquid being turned toward him. For a moment, their eyes met across the vast chamber. You just voted to quarantine humanity because we are too dangerous, Marcus said. Every word was transmitted throughout the chamber. You studied our military? You cataloged our weapons. You called us monsters and predators and threats to galactic peace. He paused, letting his words sink in. You have no idea how right you were, but you also have no idea what that actually means, because you have spent 40,000 years living in peace. You have forgotten what it takes to survive when something wants to kill you. Earth never let us forget. Every day on our world was a fight to live. Every generation learned the lessons the previous one paid for in blood. The chamber had grown quiet. Everyone was listening now. The Rakana are coming, Marcus continued. And when they arrive, you're going to learn the difference between a civilization that evolved to build and a species that evolved to refuse to die. You wanted to see if humanity was dangerous? He looked directly at Vraxis. We're about to find out. But not from us. From them. And when they reach your peaceful worlds, your beautiful cities, your billions of citizens who have never known war, you will understand why Earth made us what we are. You will understand why we cannot forget how to fight. Because forgetting is a luxury only the safe can afford. The hologram updated. The Vraken fleet numbered in the millions. The Council's combined military forces numbered in the thousands. Marcus spoke one final time before the transmission ended. He called us Category 5 hazards, You were going to cage us like animals. But now, real monsters are coming. So here's my question, Chancellor. Do you want the predators locked away, or do you want them on your side? The chamber fell into absolute silence as the weight of his words settled over the council like a sentence of doom. President Alina Vasquez stood in the Strategic Command Center beneath Geneva. Surrounded by holographic displays showing data that should have been impossible, the Vrakan horde was real. The threat was real. And the galaxy's response was absolutely pathetic. "They are running," General Nathan Cross reported, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical screens. "Every council species with the capability is evacuating their border worlds. No defensive formations. No military response. They are just fleeing." 30 billion refugees, Admiral Lisa Torres added from her station aboard the orbital platform Olympus. Most on civilian transports that were never designed for this kind of mass exodus. They are going to lose millions just from the chaos, even before the Vrakan arrive. Elena watched the displays in silence. Hours ago, the Galactic Council had voted to quarantine Earth, to strip away humanity's military and confine them to their solar system. Now, those same species were abandoning entire star systems without firing a single shot. What are we looking at? She asked her chief strategist, Captain David Ogue. Quote, the young officer pulled up comparative data. The Council military doctrine is entirely defensive. Their weapons are designed for police actions and anti-piracy operations. They have not fought a real war in recorded history. Their soldiers train in simulations, not live exercises. They have numbers, but no experience with actual combat. He switched to analysis of the Vrakan. The Horde is different. They are a biomechanical collective. Part organic, part machine, all driven by a hive consciousness that has only one goal: consume everything. 50,000 years ago, they nearly succeeded. The species that stopped them are extinct. The current council members are descendants of civilizations that survived by hiding, not fighting. So the galaxy's defenders are cowards. And the only species that remembers how to fight is the one they just tried to cage, Alina said flatly. What about our capabilities? General Cross brought up Earth's military assets. For battle groups, 27,000 combat personnel, 83 warships. Mr. President, if the Council with millions of ships cannot stop the Vrakan, what chance do we have? Dr. Rebecca Martinez, the xenobiology expert, spoke up from her workstation. Maybe we are looking at this wrong. The Council has superior numbers and technology. What they lack is not capability, but will. They have spent 40,000 years in peace. They have literally forgotten how to think like warriors. And we never stopped. Okonkwo finished. Every human soldier has trained in scenarios designed to break them. We practice for worst-case situations constantly. Our entire military philosophy is built on lessons learned from thousands of years of warfare. Admiral Torres's face appeared on the main screen. Mr. President, Ambassador Webb is requesting immediate communication. Lena nodded, and Marcus appeared on screen. Behind him, the council chamber was in chaos. Mr. President, the situation is deteriorating rapidly. The Vrakan just consumed the Helier cluster. 17 systems, 42 billion people, gone in less than 6 hours. The council sent a defense fleet. It was destroyed in 47 minutes. Recommendations? Alina asked. We deploy, Marcus said without hesitation. Not to defend Earth, to buy time for the council evacuations. The Dagnar Nebula is the natural choke point before the Horde reaches the densely populated inner systems. If we can hold them there, even for a few days, billions of civilians might reach safety. That is a suicide mission, General Cross stated. Our fleet would be obliterated. Yes, Marcus agreed. It would be, but it would also prove something. The council just voted to quarantine us because they fear what we might do. This is our chance to show them what we actually are. Not conquerors. Not monsters. Protectors. Even when it costs us everything. Lena looked at her advisors. She saw the same expression on every face. They understood what Marcus was proposing. Send Earth's military, the very forces the Council had demanded be dismantled, to die protecting the species that had condemned them. There is another option, Dr. Martinez said quietly. She pulled up data from the Xenorchaeology division. Before the emergency alert, our deep space probes detected something near the old Varakan battle sites. Energy signatures that match Catharan technology. The Catharan are extinct, Okonkwo said. They fell 50,000 years ago. Their people are gone. Their technology might not be, Martinez replied. If even a fraction of their weapons archives survived, we might find something that could actually stop the Varakan. The Catharan were the ones who drove the Horde away originally. Lena made her decision. Split our forces. 2 battle groups to the Dagnar Nebula. Hold the line as long as possible. 1 battle group to assist with evacuation operations, and 1 to investigate those Catharan signatures. If there is even a chance we can find a weapon that works against the Varakan, we take it. That spreads us dangerously thin, Cross warned. We are already facing impossible odds, Alina replied. Might as well make them count. General, begin deployment immediately. 6 hours later, the human fleet departed Earth's orbit. The departure was broadcast across all galactic channels. Council species watched in confusion and shame as the very warships they had demanded be dismantled instead moved to defend them. Admiral Torres commanded the force heading to Dagnar Nebula from the bridge of the UESN Prometheus. 18 ships against a horde of millions. The numbers were absurd. But her crew was ready. All ships report battle ready, Commander Richard Park announced. Admiral, the Council is broadcasting on all channels. They want to know why we are deploying. Tell them the truth, Torres said. Tell them that humans do not abandon people in need, even people who hate us. At the evacuation zones, Captain Marcus Clay aboard the USN Guardian was already coordinating with panicked Council officials. The refugee situation was worse than anyone had predicted. Billions trying to flee on ships designed for thousands. The chaos was overwhelming. All human vessels, begin emergency rescue operations, Clay ordered. Ignore capacity limits. Pack every available space. We get as many out as we possibly can. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, guiding terrified aliens onto human ships, providing food and medical care, maintaining order in the chaos. The refugees were afraid of their rescuers. These humans with their predator eyes and quick movements, but they were more afraid of the Vrakans, so they came anyway. Meanwhile, Captain Julia Reeves and her battle group reached the coordinates Dr. Martinez had provided. They found a dead system orbiting a dying star, and in the center, a massive ancient station that had been silent for 50,000 years. Energy readings are off the scale, Lieutenant Emma Fisher reported. Whatever is in there, it is still active. Assemble a boarding team, Reeves ordered. We need to find out what the Catharan left behind. The station's interior was vast and empty. Designed for beings twice human size, the corridors stretched into darkness. The walls were covered in murals showing the Catharan at war. But unlike human battle art, which showed courage and victory, these images showed only desperation and loss. Dr. James Wheeler, the team's xenorchaeologist, translated the ancient text. They did not defeat the Varakan through superior force. They could not. The Horde adapts too quickly, reproduces too fast. So they created something else. A weapon that did not kill the enemy. A weapon that changed them. They reached the central chamber and found it. A massive device that looked like a cathedral merged with a machine. The terminal was still functional. When Wheeler accessed it, data flooded their systems. It is a genetic cascade weapon, Wheeler breathed. It targets specific neural patterns. The patterns that govern aggression, tactical thinking, the drive to fight and conquer. It does not kill. It pacifies. Strips away the will to violence. That is how they stopped the Varakan, Reeves asked. That is how they stopped everyone, Wheeler replied, his face pale. The weapon affected the Catharan as much as the Varakan. They deployed it knowing it would destroy their own warrior culture. The Horde retreated, but the Catharan could never fight again. Eventually, their civilization collapsed, and the weapon's effects spread throughout the galactic core. Every species that evolved or migrated here has been living under its influence for 50,000 years. Reeves understood immediately. That is why the council species are the way they are. They are not naturally peaceful. They are suppressed. The Cascade weapon is still affecting them. Except us, Fisher added. Earth was never touched by it. We evolved outside the weapon's range. That is why the Council fears us. We are the only species in the galaxy still capable of true aggression. The terminal displayed a choice. The weapon could be activated again. It would stop the Vraken, send them back into dormancy. But it would affect every species in range, including humanity. Reeves immediately contacted President Vasquez. Mr. President, we found the Catherine weapon. It can stop the Vraken. But if we deploy it, humanity will be changed. We will lose our ability to fight, our aggressive instincts, everything that makes us dangerous. We will become like the Council species, peaceful, passive, helpless. Elena listened to the full report. The weapon that had saved the galaxy once before, at the cost of the Catheron civilization. The choice now fell to Earth. Can we protect ourselves from it? She asked. The Catheran tried, Wheeler reported. They failed. But we have their research. We might be able to develop some kind of immunity. But it would be experimental, untested, and we have maybe hours to try. Alina looked at General Cross. The old soldier's face was grim. If we deploy that weapon and it affects us, Earth becomes defenseless. We lose the only advantage we have. But if we do not deploy it, the Vraken consume the galaxy. Start working on an immunity protocol, Elena ordered. Use whatever you find in that archive. Captain Reeves, you have authorization to attempt development of a counteragent. But do not deploy the Cascade weapon until I give direct orders. We fight the Vraken our way first. If we fail, if we are going to die anyway, then we deploy the weapon with our last breath. The galaxy gets its peace, and we go out as ourselves. Understood, Mr. President, Reeves replied. At the Dagner Nebula, Admiral Torres received word of the plan. 6 hours until the Vraken arrived at her position. 6 hours to prepare the defense that would buy time for the others. All ships, battle stations, she ordered. Today, we show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. Today we teach the universe that humanity does not surrender. We do not run. We stand and fight. For Earth, for the innocent. For everyone who cannot protect themselves. Her crew responded with a roar of defiance that would have terrified any Council species. But the Vraken were not Council species. They were coming. Millions of ships, an unstoppable tide of consumption and death, and 18 human vessels, prepared to meet them head-on, knowing they would not survive. But determined to make their deaths count for something, the battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The Vraken. Swarm arrived at the Dugner Nebula like a wave of living metal and flesh. Admiral Torres watched from the bridge of the Prometheus as her sensors struggled. To count the enemy ships, millions, possibly tens of millions, all moving with perfect coordination, guided by the hive consciousness that had terrorized the galaxy 50,000 years ago. They are not slowing down, Commander Park reported. They are coming straight through, Good Torres replied. That means they still fight like they did before. All aggression, no caution. Let us see if 50,000 years of dormancy made them forget how to adapt. The human fleet was positioned throughout the nebula in a formation that made no tactical sense to traditional military doctrine. Instead of a defensive wall, the 18 ships formed a web with deliberate gaps. Weak points that any intelligent commander would immediately exploit. The Vraken saw the gaps and surged through them, exactly as Torres predicted. Millions of ships poured into the spaces between human vessels, surrounding them, preparing to crush the tiny fleet in a single, overwhelming strike. Then the nebula came alive. Hidden throughout the gas clouds were thousands of mines, not the kind designed to explode on contact. These were magnetic devices loaded with experimental nanites, technology that the Council had banned as excessively cruel. The mines activated when Vraken ships were fully committed, fully surrounded by the nebula's interference. The explosions ripped through the swarm. But the mines were not designed to destroy. They were designed to disrupt. The nanites attacked the biomechanical connections that allowed the hive to coordinate. Suddenly, millions of ships lost their link to the collective consciousness. They became individuals, confused and disoriented, colliding with each other in the chaos. Now, Torres ordered, the human ships opened fire, but not with conventional weapons. They launched clouds of hunter-killer drones, each one guided by adaptive AI that learned from every target it engaged. The drones swarmed through the disabled Varakan vessels, finding weak points, exploiting vulnerabilities, destroying ships faster than the hive could compensate. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Varakan swarm took casualties they could not immediately replace. But there were so many. For every 100 destroyed, 1,000 more arrived. The Varakan had learned from the first exchange. They began adapting, changing their formations, developing countermeasures to the human tactics. They are learning faster than projected, Park said. Admiral, at this rate, we have maybe 6 hours before they overwhelm us completely. Then we make those 6 hours count, Torres replied, light years away. Captain Julia Reeves and her team worked. Frantically in the Catharan archive, Dr. Wheeler had accessed the ancient civilization's research on the Cascade weapon. What they found was both brilliant and terrifying. The Cascade targets the neural pathways responsible for aggression, Wheeler explained to the team. But those same pathways also control creativity, adaptability, and the survival drive. The Catharan tried to create an immunity, something that would protect their warriors while pacifying the Varakan. They failed. Every attempt resulted in either complete vulnerability to the Cascade or the development of uncontrolled aggression that destroyed the test subjects. But they were working with Catharan biology, Reeves said. What about human biology? We evolved differently. Our aggression is tied to different neural structures. Wheeler pulled up comparative data. Human aggression is not isolated like it is in most species. It is integrated with empathy, with pack bonding, with the need to protect. When humans fight, we are not just trying to destroy enemies. We are trying to save our tribe. So the Cascade might affect us differently, Lieutenant Fisher suggested. Or it might not affect us at all, Wheeler said. Or it might kill us. We have no way to test this safely. Then we tested unsafely, Reeves decided. Synthesize a counteragent based on the Catharan research, modified for human neural patterns. I will be the first test subject. Captain, that could be fatal, Wheeler protested. If we do not figure this out, everyone dies anyway, Reeves replied. At least this way we might learn something useful. The injection took 30 seconds to administer. For 5 minutes, nothing happened. Then Reeves's body temperature spiked to dangerous levels. Her neural activity went haywire on the monitors. She collapsed, unconscious. Wheeler and Fisher worked frantically to stabilize her. 6 hours passed. When Reeves finally opened her eyes, she felt different, sharper, every sense heightened. Every threat assessment pathway in her brain was operating at maximum efficiency.
Ow.
The counteragent worked, Wheeler reported, reviewing the medical scans. Your neural patterns are intact. Actually, they are stronger. Your threat response is enhanced by about 40%. Your tactical processing speed has increased. Captain, you are effectively experiencing permanent combat readiness. Side effects? Reeves asked. You are more dangerous than you were before, Wheeler said bluntly. The counteragent did not just protect you from the Cascade. It enhanced the very traits the Cascade would suppress. If we inoculate all of humanity, we are not preserving what we are. We are evolving into something more aggressive. Reeves sat up, feeling the changes in her body. Every muscle ready, every sense alert. Part of her mind constantly scanning for threats that were not there. Can you synthesize enough for the entire fleet? Yes, but Captain, you need to understand what this means. We would be choosing to become the monsters the Council always feared we were. Or we become the monsters the galaxy needs, Reeves replied. Start production. We need enough counteragent for every human in space within 12 hours. At the evacuation zones, Captain Marcus Clay was living through a different kind of nightmare. The refugee crisis had spiraled beyond anyone's worst projections. 30 billion beings trying to flee on ships that could barely carry a fraction of that number. His crew had been working for 18 hours straight, packing refugees into every available space on human vessels. The UASN Guardian, designed for a crew of 300, now carried 15,000 terrified aliens. Life support was already strained to the breaking point. "Sir, we have to stop," Commander Alice Nomura said, her voice exhausted. "We are at 300% capacity. The environmental systems cannot handle any more." Clay looked at the displays, showing the masses of refugees still waiting. Families, children, elderly, beings who had never known war and had no idea how to survive. "Keep loading," he ordered. "We give them our rations. We give them our quarters. We give them our air if we have to. These people are helpless, and we are the only ones here who can actually save them." A young Peller child, separated from family in the chaos, was found by human medic Thomas Kim. The child was terrified. Trembling in a corner of the docking bay, Kim sat down slowly, making himself smaller, less threatening. "Hey there," he said softly. "I am not going to hurt you. I am here to help." The child looked at him with huge eyes. "You are from the death world. Everyone says you are dangerous." "We are," Kim admitted. "But right now, you need dangerous. Because dangerous is what is going to keep you safe until we find your family." Back at Dagnar Nebula, Admiral Torres was running out of time and options. Her fleet was down to 11 ships. The Prometheus itself was damaged, running on backup power. Held together by emergency force fields and the termination of her crew, the Vraken had adapted to every tactic the humans employed. They no longer fell for the same tricks. They coordinated better. They learned faster than the transmission came from the hive itself. A synthetic voice that sounded like grinding metal and dying stars. "Deathworlders. You fight well. You are the first worthy opponents we have faced since Awakening. When we consume you, your patterns will be remembered in our collective forever. You should be honored." Torres smiled, blood running down her face from a head wound. "You think this is about honor? You think we are fighting for glory?" She laughed. "We are fighting to buy time for civilians to evacuate. We are fighting so families can escape. We are fighting because someone has to, and no one else would. Then you fight to lose," the hive responded. Torres replied, "We fight because it is the right thing to do, and that is something a hive mind will never understand." She ordered all remaining ships to drow, pee their shields and broadcast their positions on all frequencies. "You want Deathworlders? Come and take us." The Vraken responded immediately. Every ship in the sector converged on the Dagnar Nebula. Millions upon millions, all focused on the small human fleet making its last stand. President Vasquez watched from Earth as the tactical displays showed the situation. Torres had maybe minutes before being overrun. Then Captain Reeves's transmission arrived. "Mr. President, the counteragent is ready. We can protect humanity from the Cascade weapon, but you need to understand what we are choosing. If we use this, we do not stay human as we are. We become something more aggressive, more dangerous, possibly more than the galaxy can handle." Alina looked at the display showing Torres's fleet, surrounded by an ocean of enemies. She thought about the billions of refugees that Clay was saving. She thought about the choice that Catharin had made 50,000 years ago. "Distribute the counteragent to all human forces," she ordered. "Then prepare to deploy the Cascade weapon. We tried fighting conventionally. We bought the time we could. Now we end this, the only way left. We save the galaxy, even if it costs us everything we are." "Good, Mr. President," Reeves replied. "Across human space, every soldier, every crew member, every human in the fleet received the injection. They felt the changes immediately. Heightened awareness, enhanced threat response, the permanent edge of combat readiness settling into their nervous systems at Dagnar Nebula." Admiral Torres received her dose and felt the transformation. She looked at her crew, saw the same change in their eyes. They were no longer just soldiers. They were weapons. Human weapons shaped by Earth and sharpened by choice. All ships prepare for final engagement, she ordered. We hold this line until the cascade deploys. We make every second count. The Vrakan swarm closed in, millions of ships forming a sphere around the human fleet. The high voice spoke one last time. You have fought well, Deathworlders. But the struggle ends now, no Torres replied, her enhanced combat instincts already calculating firing solutions. Analyzing weak points, preparing for the battle that would be her last. This is where it begins. You wanted to see what true Deathworlders can do? You wanted to face worthy prey? She gave the order to open fire. Now you find out what happens when the prey decides to bite back. The battle at Dagnar Nebula became a masterpiece of controlled violence. Admiral Torres and her enhanced crew fought with precision that seemed almost supernatural. The counteragent had not just protected them from the cascade. It had turned them into something new. Every human on every ship could process tactical data faster, react to threats quicker, coordinate with their teams more efficiently. They were not just soldiers anymore. They were predators operating at peak capacity. The UASN Invictus, commanded by Captain Roland Hayes, deliberately allowed itself to be surrounded by thousands of Vrakan ships. The Hive thought it had found an easy target. Then Hayes activated an experimental, gravitational weapon that created a micro-singularity for exactly 1.3 seconds, long enough to crush every enemy vessel within 2 kilometers. Not long enough to destroy the Invictus itself, though the ship was crippled by the attempt. 7,000 confirmed kills, Hayes reported, his bridge burning around him, worth every bit of damage we took. But the Vrakan kept coming. For every 100 destroyed, 1,000 more arrived. The human fleet was down to 9 ships, then 7, then 5. They were not losing the battle. They were being drowned in numbers that should have been impossible. Admiral Torres knew her time was running out. The Prometheus was barely functional, held together by emergency repairs and the sheer refusal of her crew to give up. She had maybe an hour before complete system failure. Then Captain Reeves transmitted new orders. Admiral, the Cascade weapon is ready for deployment. President Vasquez has authorized its use. We just need the Vrakan concentrated in one location where the initial release will have maximum effect. Torres understood immediately. You need bait. You need them all focused on one irresistible target. Admiral, I am not suggesting you sacrifice yourself, Reeves said quickly.
Yes, you are,
Torres replied. And you are right. My fleet is already dead. We have been dead since we took this position. But if our sacrifice can draw the entire swarm to one point, if it gives you the perfect shot to deploy the cascade, then we die doing exactly what we came here to do. She looked at her crew, bloodied, exhausted, but still fighting. We all knew this was a one-way trip. Now we make it count. She ordered all remaining human ships to drop their shields completely and broadcast their positions. Vrakan, you wanted worthy prey? You wanted the challenge of fighting true Deathworlders? Here we are. Come and finish what you started, the Hive responded instantly. Every Vrakan ship in 3 sectors changed course. Millions of vessels converged on the Dagnar Nebula, all focused on destroying the small human fleet that had caused them. More damage than any force in 50,000 years. Light years away. Captain Reeves watched the tactical display as the Vrakan swarm gathered. They are all moving to Torres's position. This is our chance. Dr. Wheeler activated the Catharan device. The Cascade weapon began charging, drawing power from the ancient station systems. Deployment in 15 minutes. Once we release this, it will spread through the galactic medium at near light speed. Everything in its path will be affected. The Vrakan will lose their aggression. But so will every other species except us. Except us, Reeves repeated. The counteragent in her system made her hyper-aware of every detail. She could feel her enhanced neural pathways processing information faster than should be possible. We will be the only species in the galaxy still capable of violence. It's the only ones who can fight, Wheeler said. The only ones who can defend. The only monsters left. At the evacuation zones, Captain Clay received word of the plan. He had managed to save 18 billion refugees. 18 billion out of 30 billion. The other 12 billion would not make it out in time. "We have to keep loading," he told his exhausted crew. "Every life we save matters. We do not stop until the cascade deploys." But the refugees were starting to understand what was happening. The humans who had saved them, who had worked themselves to exhaustion protecting strangers, were about to become the only dangerous species in a pacified galaxy. A Peller elder approached Clay as the final evacuations proceeded. "Why did your species do this? You knew the Council condemned you. You knew we feared you. Why sacrifice so much for beings who wanted you destroyed?" Clay looked at the elder with eyes that had not closed in 2 days. "Because someone had to. Because if the ones who remember how to fight will not stand up for those who cannot, then what is the point of strength? We are dangerous. We always will be. But we get to choose what we are dangerous for." The elder was silent for a long moment. "When the cascade deploys, you will be the only warriors left. The galaxy will depend on you for protection. Are you prepared for that burden?" "No," Clay admitted. "But we will carry it anyway. That is what Deathworlders do." Nebula Admiral Torres made her final stand. 4 ships left. 3, 2. The Prometheus fought alone now, surrounded by an ocean of enemy vessels, so dense they blocked out the stars. Her crew worked through injuries that would have incapacitated any other species. The enhanced combat readiness from the counteragent kept them functioning despite exhaustion, pain, and the certain knowledge of their approaching deaths. "The Vraken are in optimal position," her tactical officer reported. "Captain Reeves confirms she is ready to deploy." Torres opened a channel to every human in the fleet. To the soldiers fighting beside her, to the evacuation crews saving refugees, to the scientists preparing to release the cascade, to everyone on Earth watching this moment. "We came to the stars hoping for peace," she said. "We found a galaxy that feared us for remembering how to fight. They tried to cage us. They called us monsters. And when real monsters arrived, they ran. But we did not run. We stood. We fought. We died protecting people who wanted us destroyed. And now we make the choice that will define humanity forever." She paused, feeling the ship shudder as Vraken weapons tore through the hull. "We deploy the cascade. We save the galaxy. And we accept the burden of being its only defenders. Not because we want power, not because we seek glory, but because someone has to stand between civilization and chaos. Because someone has to be dangerous enough to fight the darkness. Because we are Deathworlders, and that means we refuse to surrender. Not to the enemy. Not to fear. Not to the comfortable lie that peace can exist without someone willing to defend it." The Prometheus's reactor was failing. Life support was offline. Half the crew was dead or dying. But Torres stood on her burning bridge and gave the order. "Captain Reeves, deploy the cascade. End this." The Catherian weapon activated. From the ancient station, a wave of invisible energy began spreading through space. Not destructive, transformative, touching every neural pattern in its path, suppressing the pathways that allowed for aggression, for violence, for war. The wave reached the Vraken swarm in seconds. Millions of ships simply stopped. Their hive coordination shattered. Their drive to consume evaporated. The unstoppable force that had terrorized the galaxy fell silent, confused by their own sudden inability to feel GG Race Psi. The cascade continued spreading. Through the evacuation zones, through council space, through every star system in the galactic core, species that had already been suppressed by the ancient weapon felt the effects strengthen. Their already peaceful natures became unshakable. War became not just unlikely, but impossible for them to even contemplate. Only humanity remained unchanged, protected by the counteragent, enhanced by it. Every human in space felt the cascade pass through them harmlessly. Their neural patterns too strong to be suppressed. Admiral Torres felt it too, the weapon washing over her enhanced nervous system and finding no purchase. She was still dangerous, still capable of violence, still ready to fight, but there was nothing left to fight. The Vraken were pacified. The galaxy was safe. "Captain Reeves," she transmitted, her voice weak from blood loss. "Confirmed Cascade deployment successful." "Confirmed," Admiral Reeves replied. "The weapon is spreading throughout the galaxy. Vraken aggression is suppressed." "You did it. You saved everyone." Torres smiled. Around her, the bridge was silent. Her crew was gone. The Prometheus was dying. But they had won.
"Good,"
she whispered. Then it was worth it. The ship's reactor finally failed. The Prometheus, the last human vessel at Dagnar Nebula, went dark. Admiral Lisa Torres and her crew became the first casualties of humanity's new role. They died as warriors. They died as heroes. They died proving that humanity's danger was not a threat to the galaxy, it was the galaxy's salvation. On Earth. President Vasquez addressed her planet. Behind her stood General Cross, Captain Reeves, Captain Clay, and representatives of every branch of human service. All of them enhanced by the counteragent. All of them forever changed. "Today, humanity made a choice," she said. "We deployed a weapon that pacified the galaxy. Every species except us has lost the capacity for violence. We are now the only warriors left, the only soldiers, the only beings capable of fighting when fighting becomes necessary." She paused, letting the weight of it settle. "Some will say we engineered this outcome, that we made ourselves indispensable. They are wrong. We did not want this burden. We never asked to be the galaxy's only defenders. But when the choice came between letting billions die or accepting this responsibility, we chose to carry the weight. We will be the galaxy's shield, not its rulers. We will face the threats they cannot. We will do the violence they are no longer capable of. And we will hate every moment of it, because that is what makes us different from the monsters we fight. The Council feared us for being dangerous. Now they will depend on us for that same danger. And we will prove every single day that being capable of violence and choosing when to use it is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength." The broadcast ended. Across human space, enhanced soldiers stood ready. The first generation of true Deathworlders, the only species in the galaxy that remembered how to fight, and they prepared to bear that burden for as long as the stars would burn. 1 year after the Cascade deployment, Ambassador Marcus Webb stood again in the Grand Council chamber. But everything had changed. The chamber that once held 847 species now barely held 300 representatives. Many simply stopped attending, content to let others handle governance while they enjoyed their enforced peace. Chancellor Varaxa spoke, his liquid mercury form flowing more gently than before. The cascade had affected even him. "Ambassador Webb, the Council has deliberated for many cycles on the question of humanity's place among us. We have seen your species save our civilization. We have watched your soldiers patrol our borders. We have witnessed your restraint despite having all the power." Marcus stood on the same platform where he had been judged a year ago, where the Council had voted to cage humanity as too dangerous to exist freely. The irony was not lost on anyone. "We propose a new designation," Varaxis continued. "Humanity will be recognized as the Galactic Protectorate. You will maintain your military forces. You will patrol regions we can no longer defend. You will respond to threats we can no longer face, but you will not govern. You will not impose your will on Council decisions. You will remain separate, but essential." Marcus considered the words carefully. "You are asking us to be your military while denying us political power, to fight your wars while having no say in your policies, to be the weapons you point at threats, but never the voice that decides which threats matter." "We are acknowledging reality," Counselor Thex said, his forearms spread in a gesture that might have been pleading before the cascade. Now it was simply sad. "You are the only ones left who can fight. We need you. But we also fear what you might become if you hold both military and political power. We fear we will conquer you," Marcus said bluntly. "Would you not be tempted?" asked Elder Soren, the energy being who rarely spoke. "You have the capability. Every species in this galaxy is helpless before you. You could rule us all, and we could not stop you." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his words carried the weight of Earth's entire history. "You are right. We could conquer you. We could rule you. We could become exactly what you always feared. But we will not. Do you know why?" He looked around the chamber at the peaceful, passive species who had voted to destroy humanity and then been saved by that same species. Because 50,000 years ago, the Catharon made a different choice. They had the power to rule. They had the weapons to dominate. Instead, they used that power to create peace, even though it destroyed them. We learned from their mistake. Power without wisdom is tyranny. Strength without purpose is meaningless. We will be your protectorate. We will guard your borders and face your threats. But not because you command us. Because it is the right thing to do. Because someone has to stand between civilization and chaos. And we are the only ones left who can. The vote was called. The decision was unanimous. Humanity became the Galactic Protectorate. Separate, dangerous, essential. As Marcus left the chamber, he encountered a young human officer named Thomas Rivera. Fresh from training, on his first assignment to Council Space, the young man looked nervous. "Sir, is it true that we are the only ones left who can fight?" "It is true," Marcus confirmed. "Are we the monsters they always said we were?" Marcus had heard that question many times in the past year. He gave the same answer he always did. We are monsters who chose to protect instead of prey. That does not make us less dangerous. But it means we are the right kind of dangerous. The kind that scares away the darkness so others can sleep peacefully. Across the galaxy, human forces settled into their new role. At the borders, patrol fleets maintained constant watch. In the core systems, rapid response teams stood ready. In the deep unknown regions beyond Council Space, exploration vessels pushed into territories the Cascade had never touched. Searching for the next threat before it could reach the pacified civilization's Captain Julia Reeves, now Admiral Reeves commanded the Border Defense Fleet from a new flagship. The counteragent had changed her permanently. She could feel it every moment. The enhanced threat awareness, the accelerated tactical processing, the permanent state of combat readiness. "How are you adjusting?" Dr. Wheeler asked during one of his regular medical evaluations. "I dream of combat," Reeves admitted. "Every night, my brain running through tactical scenarios even when I sleep." The counteragent did not just protect us. It made us into weapons. All of humanity, actually, Wheeler said, reviewing her neural scans. We are starting to see the effects in the general population. Children born after the Cascade deployment are showing even stronger enhancement than we did. They are more aggressive, more tactically minded, more ready for conflict than any previous generation. We did not just change ourselves, Reeves realized. We changed our entire species forever. We became what the galaxy needed us to be, Wheeler replied. The question is whether we can live with what we have become. Captain Marcus Clay, now overseeing humanitarian operations, faced a different challenge. The refugees his forces had saved were settling into new worlds, building new lives. But they remained terrified of their rescuers. A young Peller named Zenas approached him during a reconstruction visit. The child had been one of the millions saved during the evacuation. "I remember you," Zenas said. "You saved my family when the Vraken came. You worked for days without sleeping to get us to safety." "I remember you too," Clay said gently. "Everyone says humans are dangerous. That you are the only ones who can still hurt people. Is that true?" Clay knelt down to the child's level. "It is true. We can hurt people. We are very good at it. But being able to hurt someone and choosing to hurt someone are different things." "But you could hurt us if you wanted," Zenas said. "Yes," Clay admitted, "but we do not want to. We want to protect you. Do you understand the difference?" The child thought about it. "You are dangerous for us, not to us." "Exactly," Clay said. "We are the ones who stand between you and the things that would harm you. That is what makes us Deathworlders. Not that we are violent, but that we choose to be violent only when it protects those who cannot protect themselves." 50 years later, the galaxy had transformed. The first generation born after the cascade was reaching adulthood across all species. Council children grew up knowing only absolute peace. They could not even imagine war. Violence was not just rejected, but impossible for them to contemplate. Human children grew up very differently in training academies. Across Earth and its colonies, young people learned combat from the age of 5. Not because they wanted to, but because the galaxy needed them to. They studied tactics, strategy, weapons, systems, and the history of warfare that no other species could understand anymore. A teacher named Sarah Chen addressed her class of 10-year-olds. You are different from every other child in the galaxy. You can feel anger. You can imagine violence. You can understand conflict. This is not a curse. This is your responsibility. Why do we have to learn this if no one else does? One student asked. "'Cause someone must," Chen replied. The cascade that pacified the galaxy is not permanent. It weakens over distance and time. Someday something will come from beyond its reach. Something that was never touched by the Catharon weapon. And when that day comes, you will be the only ones ready to face it. She pulled up images of Admiral Torres and her final stand at Dagnar Nebula. These were the first true Deathworlders. They chose to die protecting species that had condemned them. They made the sacrifice that allowed all of us to become what we are now. Never forget what they did. Never forget why we train. Never forget that our danger is not our shame. It is our purpose. The children recited the Guardian's oath that every human learned. We are dangerous so others may be safe. We are violent so others may know peace. We are Deathworlders so the galaxy may live. This is our burden, our purpose, our pride. On the fringes of Council space, human patrol ships encountered their first real test. A species from beyond the Cascade's range, untouched by the Catharon weapon, had begun raiding Council worlds. They were aggressive, violent, and utterly shocked to find resistance. Commander Lisa Park, Admiral Torres' distant relative, commanded the response fleet. The raiders had expected helpless prey. They found Deathworlders instead. The battle was brief and brutal. The raiders were experienced fighters from a culture that had never known the Cascade's influence. But humanity had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this scenario. The raiders were defeated in hours. The survivors were brought to Council space for judgment. They stood before the peaceful Council members in complete confusion. "You defeated us," their leader said. "But you are part of this soft galaxy. How can you fight when no one else can?" Chancellor Orin, Vroxus's successor, explained gently, "They are human. They are the only species we allow to remain dangerous. They are our defenders, our guardians, our Deathworlders." The raider leader looked at the human soldiers with new understanding and new fear. "You created a species of warriors to protect you? You gave them all the power?" "We did not create them," Orin replied. "They chose to be this way to protect us." There is a difference. Back on Earth, President Robert Martinez stood in the same strategic command center where Elena Vasquez had made the decision to deploy the Cascade 50 years earlier. He addressed the planet on the anniversary of that choice. 50 years ago, our ancestors made a decision that changed humanity forever. They deployed a weapon that pacified the galaxy and accepted the burden of remaining dangerous. They made us into the galaxy's only warriors. Its only soldiers. Its only monsters. Some ask if they made the right choice. Look at what we have become. We train our children for war. We live in permanent readiness for conflict. We can never know true peace because we must always be ready to defend those who can. Is this the future they wanted for us? He paused, looking at the display showing human ships patrolling thousands of light years of space. Perhaps not, but it is the future we needed. Because the alternative was letting billions die. The alternative was allowing the Vraken to consume everything. The alternative was choosing our comfort over the galaxy's survival. We are Deathworlders. We were born on a world that tried to kill us every day, and we learned not just to survive, but to thrive. We brought that lesson to the stars. We proved that being dangerous is not the same as being evil, that violence in defense of the innocent is not cruelty, that monsters who choose to protect our heroes, even if they look like demons. So we will continue our watch. We will train our children. We will maintain our fleets. We will be the shield that stands between civilization and chaos. Not because it is easy. Not because we want the burden, but because it is necessary. Because we are the only ones who can. Because 50 years ago, Admiral Torres and her crew proved what it means to be truly human. We are dangerous at peace. We are unstoppable at war. We are Deathworlders, and that is not our curse. It is our gift to a galaxy that forgot what it means to fight for something worth protecting. The transmission ended. Across human space, soldiers stood ready. Children trained for battles they might never fight. Scientists maintained the counteragent that kept humanity unchanged while the rest of the galaxy remained pacified, in the Grand Council chamber. Empty except for a handful of representatives who still cared about governance, a monument had been erected. It showed Admiral Torres standing on the bridge of the Prometheus, facing impossible odds with absolute determination. The inscription read, "She was dangerous, so others could be safe. She was violent, so others could know peace. She was a Deathworlder, so the galaxy could live. May we never forget what she sacrificed. May we always remember why she fought. May we prove worthy of the protection her kind provides." Ambassador Marcus Webb, now elderly but still sharp, stood before the monument. Beside him was Thomas Rivera, no longer young, now the new ambassador. "Do you think they understand?" Rivera asked. "Do they really get what we gave up to protect them?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Some do. Most do not. They live in peace they did not earn, protected by people they still fear. But that was always the bargain. We are not heroes to them. We are necessary evils. Monsters they tolerate because worse monsters exist. Does that bother you?" "Every day," Marcus admitted, "but it does not change anything. We are Deathworlders. We do not protect people because they appreciate us. We protect them because it is right. Because when the cascade finally weakens, when the next threat emerges from the darkness, they will need us again, and we will be ready." He looked at the monument one last time. Admiral Torres taught us that. Our danger is not our shame. It is our purpose. We are the monsters the galaxy needs. And we will be that for as long as the stars burn, whether they thank us or not. Outside the chamber, beyond the crystal walls, human patrol ships continued their eternal watch, silent, vigilant, dangerous. The galaxy slept peacefully, protected by the only species that remembered nightmares were real. The Deathworlders stood guard, and the darkness stayed away, because that is what monsters do when they choose to be. Heroes instead of villains, they become exactly what the universe needs. Even if the universe never quite understands what it has. True Deathworlders. Forever dangerous, forever vigilant, forever protecting those who can no longer protect themselves. And in that choice, humanity found something greater than peace. They found purpose. Retroclad can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5